perfection being the enemy of best. Wait, no. Yes? No? Good? Best being the enemy of good? What does that mean anyways? Have you heard of the saying that it's not good to want to strive for perfection? I mean, does it sound the same as in just good enough is good enough? Don't try to do a great job, do a good job? What does that mean? How does it apply to us? So you look at grand events, right? Like the building of the first subway in Vietnam. Well, it's very interesting, but the subway in Hanoi has actually been finished, at least one line, and the one in Saigon has not. And is it relevant that the one in Hanoi is done by the Chinese and the one in Saigon is done by the Japanese? Chinese are known for being sloppy, right? Their high-speed rail, for example, had large incidents, including the death of many, many people when one train derailed. But is it just about finishing a job and not worrying about those little things which may not be so important or may be so important? Well, let me give you a different perspective, one that's personal to me, and that is learning Vietnamese. So I want to get it right. I want to speak with the correct accent. I want to speak with a southern accent. Many people in Vietnam speak with a northern accent, but in California, most of them are southerners. They're refugees. They fled from the war. So they have a southern accent. I prefer that. But trying to speak perfectly with the proper accent when people around me are speaking with a northern accent is very difficult. Plus, what point is it learning the proper accent when I don't speak Vietnamese in the first place? See, I want to work really hard getting the grammar right, the pronunciation right, all this stuff that really doesn't matter when your main goal is just to communicate. Isn't that the point of language? Communication? And so many times we get caught up in these sort of little things, these details that matter a whole lot, as in they don't matter, when you're just a beginner. Reminds me of this classmate from school, David Holt, we all called him. That was his name after all. Who would always raise his hand in class and ask some esoteric, irrelevant, philosophical question. It annoyed us to no end because we all wanted to get out, and he's there disrupting class by asking questions over and over. And the main point of it being he wasn't a very good student himself. It's not like he was flying through the class, this was too simple, so you want to ask more questions about what this or that really means. I think he just thought about these things. And I feel the real tragedy, in a sense, is somebody needs to sit him down and say, David, you have very good questions. The problem is you're not doing well in school. You might want to first make sure you get through medical school, get into residency, then you get to ask these questions, right? So for me, I might as well try to actually speak some Vietnamese, be understandable. Northern, southern accent, they're all understandable to the vast majority of Vietnamese. So why not just learn to speak? Messed up maybe, not perfectly. I mean, analogizing it to myself in English is like somebody trying to learn English, say they're from Vietnam, and they're like, no, I don't like your American accent, I want the British accent, not just the normal one, the Oxford one. And they're like, seriously, you don't even speak English, nobody can understand you, why are you trying to learn an Oxford accent, right? When you start playing piano, you gotta learn the basics first. You're not gonna all of a sudden play Rachmaninoff, right? Or say a Chopin etude. You're gonna just play the simple stuff, Twinkle, Twinkle, right? You're gonna say, oh, I have to work on these octaves, my hands are improperly positioned. You're just trying to hit notes. You will get the finger positioning later, right? Before you start playing the more complicated stuff. But to worry about all that stuff in the very beginning seems like you're just setting yourself up for failure. Maybe that's what they mean when they say you don't want to strive for perfection. Just good enough. At least that's what I think it means from my own experience learning Vietnamese.